Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 10th episode of Slime Time Sidequest, an official Dragon's Den podcast. This is Plattym3.
Haha, you talked first.
What? What do you mean? I always talk first.
Yeah, but this is our countdown show, which means you're now officially in the number 3 position.
What? 3 position?
Yeah, we're doing top 3 countdowns tonight. So, coming as our number 3 co-host here on Slime Time in 2020, it's Plattym3!
Thank you very much. But where's that cheering coming from?
It's 2020. It's the year of pumping in crowd noise. It's not that hard to do. Besides, aren't you the one that edits that kind of stuff in, Platty?
Oh, yeah, so true. Okay, but question for you, wait a minute. If I only reach number 3 co-host status, I mean, who beat me out? The only other co-hosts this year were you and Liam, and I mean, we did have that one-off just a couple weeks ago with Pendy.
Well, the rules state Pendy wasn't eligible as he didn't host at least 10 episodes this year. So that must mean that I came in first and Liam came in second. Oh, thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Wait a minute, though. Didn't you talk second tonight?
Yeah, but damn it.
Okay, well, jokes aside, what we're going to do tonight, and then again in probably a couple of weeks, is a kind of a countdown. Top 3 games that either us or our guests tonight have all played in the year 2020.
Yes, emphasis on the played in 2020 part. Right. This isn't a top RPGs or platformers or puzzle games or what have you of 2020. It's just the games that brought us and our guests the most joy this year.
All right, and we needed some joy this year. So the format you're going to hear tonight is we've got a quartet of returning guests here to talk about either their top 2 or their top 3 gaming experiences of the year. And then we'll be back in a week or two with a couple more guests. And Yangus and I will talk about our top 3 in that episode as well. But mainly tonight, we're here just to host and harass our guests and mock their tastes in games or praise it because, you know, some of these games we like. But welcome back, Bluestar, AustNerevar, Bururian, and Brother Jaybird.
Thanks for having us back. Hello.
Wait. If we're going to do this introduction with these guys, and I'm going to do my announcer voice, we need to give them a proper introduction.
Go right ahead.
Let's give a big welcome to Bluestar, AustNerevar, Bururian, and Brother Jaybird.
I don't know where I am. It's cold and dark.
What year is it?
In this room. It feels like I have
your
a
victory
burlap
line when
sack
you win.
over
You're
my
just
head.
like, I'm so cold and dark. It's so dark in here.
I hear noises, but I don't understand where they're coming from.
We put him back in the box that he came from. All right. So, to kick things off, let's start with everyone's number 3 game played this year. And I believe, Platty, you had a certain person in mind to start us off.
I did, but they didn't want to go first, so I'm going to pivot, and we're going to go to AustNerevar. What was your 3rd best gaming experience this year?
I knew you'd pick me first.
Because
Sorry.
I told you I was going to.
Alphabetically, baby. The rest of us are B's.
Oh, that is true. We got the ABBB crew.
Okay, so we're going to talk about triple B games this year.
These don't all look like AAA games, so that's all right.
Hey, but they were fun.
That's right. That's all that's important. What did you have fun with?
Yeah, so I didn't really play that many games that come out, or 2020 games in 2020, but the few that I did play were mainly, my number 3 pick anyway is Crusader Kings 3, and I played probably about 100 hours of that. It was very easy to get carried away and just get sucked into it, which, I mean, I always do that with strategy games anyway, but this one was so complex, and I mean, a lot of it is sort of similar to Stellaris, which is something I'll talk about later, But it's based, for anybody who doesn't know what it's about. It's pretty much based anywhere between the year, I think it starts at like 900 all the way up to 1100 is around where you can choose to start. But I mean, games could go on for hundreds of years if you choose to keep playing. It's all based on like palace intrigue and relationships between lords and kings and counts, and I mean it's set during the medieval times. So any kind of like governmental body that would have existed at that time, you can pretty much play as, whether you're talking about like in Ireland or even some Middle Eastern cultures. There's no limit on like what type of government you can play as.
That's pretty cool. Now, I've actually heard about this quite a bit. Someone on one of the weekly podcasts I listened to, an RP Gamer, I guess played the second one a lot. And did this one come out this year? Or did a new one come out?
Yeah, 3 came out. I think it may have been in the fall. I don't remember the date exactly. But yeah,
I want to say it
came
was
out
kind of recent, at least. The past 3 months.
Yeah, 2's been popular for a long time, but it's always been really hard for people to get into because it never really explains itself very well. And it's an incredibly complex game already, with like just dozens and dozens of different systems on top of systems. So if you don't have a way to understand it, it can be really hard to get into 2. 3 sort of fixed that a lot with some better tutorials and better UI. That's really the biggest thing, is the interface is easier to use.
Are there any sort of battles, or is it more diplomacy and choices, text-based choices?
Yeah, it has combat, and you very often get pulled into wars, whether it's like a holy war or you have an ally that's going to war with somebody. And if you're an ally with them, you can either choose not to, but your reputation will take a hit. So you very often go to war, but the combat is very much a secondary thing, and it seems to be all based around marriages, alliances, using the skills that your ruler has in different ways. Like you can focus on like intrigue and use spies to learn secrets about neighboring rulers and use that to blackmail them, or you can kill somebody who's like in the like, for example, let's say you're third in line to inherit a neighboring county. Well, you can kill everybody above you if you have the required skills to do that covertly.
So yes, I'd heard a lot of the, as you said, marriage and bloodline and whatever. I heard that gets quite interesting. And I've seen quite a few memes and stuff about it. Didn't someone post something the other day about brother husband, or son husband son?
I remember this happening.
Yes, you did. You got to keep it in the family. Did we lose Aust for a minute?
No, everybody's still here.
Oh, okay.
So I've never personally played any of the Crusader King games, but I know Paradox and their games, and they are, to say lightly, very involved.
So yeah, pretty much all I've heard about this is the strategy and all of that, but I have heard that it takes, and hearing him talk about playing for 100 hours and knowing this that hasn't been out all that long.
100 hours,
you could say it's sucked in. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, this is quite something involved that you could get sucked into for quite a long time. And I know generation by generation through the game can take quite a bit to go through the steps. And we did lose Aust here, which is why we're all just rambling about a game that we've never played.
Yeah, I've never really heard of this series until this third one came out. I think Aust has mentioned it a few times on the Den. It's not one I really looked into, but I mean, from what little descriptions like I've heard from him and like what I've seen on the Discord and what I've looked up elsewhere, it seems like it could be a pretty interesting time. It's just probably not something that I would personally pick up and play, but it still seems like it'd be something fun to try out if you got the chance. Like if you had a buddy who had a copy or something, you tried it out at his place.
You gave Civ 6 a chance this year.
Yeah.
Civ can be a lot of fun if you play with the right people.
This is a very true
last time I'd
statement.
Yes.
Last time I think I tried playing a Civ game was years ago when I was still in high school, and I played it with a buddy of mine at his house, and we only got like halfway through a game before we had to leave, and I hadn't touched a Civ game since. I picked up 6 for like $20 or something for the Switch. It's pretty fun, except the tutorial just totally borks out halfway through it, because one of the actions it wants you to take, the game won't actually let you take it, so...
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. But I remember playing that a bit over the summer, and I mean, if this, or what's it called, Crusaders 3? Was that what it was?
Crusader Kings 3, yeah.
Crusader Kings, excuse me. I mean, if it's sort of like Civ, or, sort of has that sort of gameplay idea to it, I mean, it could be something I'd check out then if it, was on PS4 or PS5 or something like that,
All right, we're going to move on to our next person, and if Ost gets back to us later, if he has anything else he wants to say, we can let him. But Bluestar, why don't you talk about your number 3 game of the year? And this is something, it's a 50-50 coin flip if this will be the next game I play, too. But go ahead and tell us about your third favorite experience this year.
Well, you say it'll be a 50-50 coin flip if this one will be the next game you play, but if I recall correctly, you actually have a different game. So my game
that's
number...
right.
Totally
There's so many in this series.
There's absolutely nothing in common between the two of them. Well, more or less. My number 3 game of the year is Tales of Symphonia. I played it over the summer, and it's kind of an old school game. It was originally released for the GameCube in 2004, and it's been re-released on a lot of different platforms. So if you want to get your hands on the game, it's fairly easy at this point. The version that I played was the PS3 remaster that came out in 2013. It was a game that I had actually tried to get into before, and just somewhere along there was enough non-linear story patterns where I came up against a boss that I wasn't supposed to be there yet and just got bodied. It was a good time, but it made me put the game down for probably 5 or 6 years. But with all of the free time that came with being cooped up in my house all summer, I did get to pick it up again, and I did actually beat it. And it was really funny because it's one of those games where when you explore the world and you think you're almost done exploring the world, you have this goal, you get there and you think you're finishing the game, and then suddenly there's like 50 more hours of story. So
that's Tales all the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every time you think you're done, it goes, hey, here's another complete arc to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So the gist of the story is that your main character is named Lloyd, and he is the adopted son of a dwarf who lives on the outskirts of a village. He's your typical, I guess, class clown, doesn't want to study type
He's the village
character.
idiot.
Yeah, basically. That's thank you. And his best friend Colette is the chosen one who is supposed to regenerate the world. And the game starts as, she is sort of starting this prophecy journey where she needs to go to all the different elemental shrines, which you probably recognize from a lot of RPGs, in order to sort of reverse the flow of energy so that the world starts to, heal itself naturally, with all of its environmental and nature things, rather than slowly deteriorating over time.
So what I think it is if I remember right, it was that the mana is draining from the world, and her taking over the prophecy of, I forget the role that she takes, she's going to restore the mana to the world. That's the whole point of it.
Yep, that's the whole point. So throughout the game, you sort of see it's a very anime-styled story, and you get a really fun cast of characters that you can all control in combat. One of the cool things that I really enjoy about the Tales games is that they're all actually 4-player. So in battles, you control a character, and you can have up to four friends controlling the other characters. So it's a good time if you want to go through a very in-depth story and micromanage all of your characters' equipment with a friend. So that's what I do with my brother most of the time when we're actually both home together. But the Tales series is a lot of fun. It's they're all different. None of them really feel quite the same way. There's a lot of similar mechanics and similar ideas that transfer between the different titles. So you'll have cameos from other characters, much like you'll probably see in Dragon Quest. But they're all very different. So if you don't like one, it's very possible that you could pick up another and really enjoy it.
Would you say this is like a Final Fantasy game?
I don't know a lot about Final Fantasy.
I was going to say, that was going to perk up Bururian's ears. He's like, Final Fantasy.
I'm just saying, the Tales games basically parallel. Each game is its own game, except when it has a direct sequel like Tales of Symphonia did. But they are very much each their own game, much like the Final Fantasy games. Yeah.
Got it.
That's what I meant by asking that. I was being a little facetious.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
So what's the game that you and I just bought on the eShop in the past month?
So we bought Tales of Vesperia, which
baby.
I believe was the title that released after Tales of Symphonia, but there's a lot of them and they all have sort of obscure made-up word titles, and it's hard to keep track of which came when. So I haven't actually played Tales of Vesperia either. It's something that I'm hoping to have time to pick up sometime at some point, maybe.
So Vesperia has a very troubled past because Microsoft paid a lot of money to get Japanese RPGs on their systems, so they paid Bandai Namco to bring the game over even though it wasn't done. So there's content missing from the original release of the game that we got over here, but Japan had it on the PS3 and its complete version, and we didn't get that for years and years and years and years until it released in the last year or two over here on the Switch and the PS4 and, you know, every other system that it's on, to where we finally got the complete full version of the game, because Microsoft had to get a little snipey trying to capture the Japanese market, because they also did that with Eternal Sonata.
I love that game too.
Yeah, they paid a lot of money for it to have it exclusively on their console, and it was missing content that the Japanese version had that they had on the PS3, and we eventually got that version.
Yeah, I remember that the HD version of Tales of Vesperia, or the complete edition, whatever it ended up being called. I remember that was a pretty big deal that we were getting that, what was that, announced at like E3 2017, 2018 or something like that. I remember that was a pretty big deal that we were getting the full package game, because they announced it at, I think, Microsoft's E3 conference that year. And like, even though I'm not really big into Tales and don't really know a whole lot about it, like most everywhere I've looked, it was one of the top headlining like articles for like just about any gaming news website you could go to. Like it was a big deal that it was coming.
It was a pretty big deal because it was an older Tales title, and why bring over an older one when they can just do a new one and monetize that? But getting back to Symphonia was actually the first Tales game that I played back on the GameCube, because I was very starved for RPGs, being a GameCube owner, and it was among one of the first released, so I kind of just jumped on it just because, hey, it's an RPG on the GameCube. There's not a lot of those. And I ended up yeah, and I ended up really liking the game. I never played any of the remakes. I actually own the PS3 version, but I never actually played it because it had all of the content that was cut from the original GameCube version. But I don't know. They also changed how the game looks, because on the GameCube version it had this nice cell shading and it looked very kind of, I guess you could say, cartoony, because that's how cell shading is. But they gave it a different look on the PS3 version, and it's not bad. It's just different.
That's interesting, because I'd still say the PS3 version looks kind of cell shaded. But then again, I never played the GameCube version. So.
It's I mean, if you look at a comparison version, you can see it. You can see a big difference between the two, but it's not like, oh no, they changed it. It's ruined now.
Yeah, I bet there would be some differences just because of like different engines they'd have to put it on for the HD consoles compared to the GameCube.
As far as I'm aware, it's the same game. It just added in the content that got cut from the North American release of Symphonia that we got. So, because there were, I think, the one thing that I can think of is there were character arts attacks that got special animations that for whatever reason got cut out of the GameCube version, but, they were in the GameCube version in Japan, they just didn't make the cut over here, but they put them back in for the PS3 version when it re-released here with the dual game release. What was the second one called?
Good question. I didn't hear very good things about it, so I didn't actually play it.
Most people, I know most people.
Tales of
Dawn of the New World.
Dawn of the New World, that's it, yeah.
According to Google.
Didn't, I hear it didn't do too hot, but again, I've never played it. So I know it was originally a Wii release, and, it's on the PS3 as well now. So.
Yeah.
Oh, and the PC. Go play it. It's on Steam. Go buy it. I'm sure this Steam's winter sale is going to be happening here real soon. Probably get it real cheap.
As I got my Vesperia.
Yes, thank you for that tip, Platty.
Yep.
We both got Tales of Vesperia for $15 on the Switch. So
yes, we did.
Was Symphonia your first Tales game as well? Or did you play any of the other?
It was not. My first Tales game was actually Tales of Graces, which released for the it was Tales of Graces F, which released for the PS3 in, I believe, 2010. I think there might have been a similar sort of situation where originally there was an incomplete version that was released on the Wii, and a year or two later we got the actual full version on the PS3. And Tales of Graces is actually one of my all-time favorite games, so that's sort of what got me into the series. And
you know why?
Why?
Because it was one of the first ones you played. That's generally how these things go. Tales of Symphonia was my first. It's my favorite. No other Tales has lived up quite to it.
That's definitely where it's at. I've played a lot of them, especially a lot of the newer ones. But Tales of Graces is definitely my top. But I didn't play it this year, so.
All right. So hey, that looked it. I know a lot of people enjoy this series. It is a series I've never played before. I look forward to that. Maybe that being one of my first games of 2021, though.
They're actually pretty fun. They've got they all the games always have great character interactions. I always like most of the cast. There's always that one character where you're just like, get out of here. I don't like you. But it was like that with Symphonia. I liked everybody in the party. I liked all of their backstories. I especially liked Zelos, because one of the main characters for Symphonia, for everything that he went through, because more or less, well, I don't want to spoil it, but then again, it's like a 15-year-old RPG. But hey,
it's also interesting because Zelos is the character that I was going to roll my eyes at.
Well, see, he's kind of like a parallel to Luke from Tales of the Abyss.
This is one that I have not played.
You should play Abyss because it is actually one of the better, if not best, Symphonia Tales of games.
Is that the one that's on 3DS too?
Yeah, it came out
it was
on the 3DS pretty early.
It was a PS2 release, and it came out on Valentine's Day 2014. So, I think at least that's when I bought it. My girlfriend broke up with me, so I spent the money I was going to spend on her on Tales of the Abyss.
Oh, memories!
That's amazing.
I think that was a hard 3DS game to find shortly after it came out too, because I remember when some of my buddies had gone off to college, I sent them a picture because I knew one of them was a fan of the Tales series, and I'm like, hey, look what I happened to pick up. And he's like, I haven't been able to find a copy at all. I've been looking forever.
It's also hard on the eyes because the 3D for that game is rough.
Ooh.
People actually use the 3D on the 3DS?
I tried to use the 3D on that game, and that just hurt my eyes. It gave me a headache. I had to turn it off. It did this weird thing to where it would pop the word bubble out to give it this super 3D effect, but then the text would be on the base layer, so it was like you were looking into a hole reading each text bubble, and it just hurt.
Yeah, I got about 10 hours into that game, but I just never ended up beating it. It's the first and only Tales game that I've played so far, but I wouldn't mind checking out. There's one that came out on the PS4 a few years ago, like Tales of Berseria, I think it's called.
Berseria, yeah, that was actually the first Tales game that featured a female protagonist. So that's actually, one of the really cool things about it.
You forgot about
Xillia.
Tales of Xillia.
Okay. Tales of Xillia has a female protagonist, but it's one of two protagonists that you get to pick. Tales of Berseria has one protagonist and it's a female. which is real
'cause
cool.
She's pretty cool.
That's
I've
a
liked
fair-
her design.
that is
She
a fair
seems like a
point.
pretty interesting character.
I'll acquiesce to that.
See, these are the ones that I've played, so I know more about them. I have not finished Tales of Berseria, but it's one that I started over the summer, and then school started, and I had to put it down.
That's
but
how it goes.
I'm hoping to be able to get back to it soon. But that one's actually really interesting because it kind of has you playing as the antagonists rather than the protagonists. So you and your band are mostly, demons trying to overthrow the government that everybody thinks is, totally saintly and godlike. So it's an
Like
interesting story.
That would
Most
explain
Tales
some of the
games.
character designs then, because I remember when seeing a few of the skit interactions for Berseria, not a lot of the characters came across as they were supposed to be the good guys, particularly the one witch character.
Oh yeah, she's
she didn't seem very friendly at all, which was really funny because I saw that video shortly after I had played Fire Emblem Echoes, and the same voice actress who voiced Celica voices that witch girl that I'm talking about, and it's
She also
total opposite
voices-
for personalities.
she is one of my favorite voice actresses. She also voices one of the characters in Tales of Graces, and it's also, it's a completely different character, but you can totally tell it's the same voice actress. So she's super talented, and I love her.
Yeah, I've just recently saw her in one of the episodes for Hell of a Boss, which is an animated, very adult show on YouTube, and she does a pretty good job voicing the character that she does. She's very sarcastic and just so crass. It's so funny.
All right, I'm going to end this Tales right here as we've been going on for quite a while because we got lots of other guests that have some games to talk about. We're going to move to Brother Jaybird
makes
next.
me hurt inside. This Tales.
He always cuts me off when I'm talking.
Yep. Notice Yangus got going, and I had to step in here.
Yeah, thanks, Platy.
You're welcome. Much obliged. But let's get to a game that's more on the brand of Slime Time here. Sometimes on the side quest we navigate back to a main quest. Brother Jaybird, what is your number 3 gaming experience of the year?
I'm so
mean the one
excited you added this.
You mean the one you just highlighted for me? Yeah, I'll get to that one. So,
Last second ad.
yeah. So this is a game that actually didn't come out this year. I'm actually very, very late to get on the bandwagon for this one. Shame on me. But my number 3 game of the year would be Dragon Quest XI, which I there's a little Dragon Quest chime that goes in here somewhere. Some little one of those little jackpot fanfares. Anyway.
No, we need to put Salvando going, fabulous, darling.
So, this was a game that I was actually really excited to play because I'm a big Dragon Quest fan. It's one of my go-to RPGs, traditional RPGs, though I didn't really come around to it until I was, early high school, late middle school, early high school, with the release of Dragon Quest VIII. I talked a bit about that in when you had me on for the Heroes quests. So I was really excited to play this one, but I wasn't able to get a hold of it because I don't have an appropriate system for it. I finally got around to getting it on Steam, and I have been slowly slogging my way through it on my laptop. I've been able to play it. I was able to configure it such that it played, but I'm willing to accept my lack of the full experience just for the pleasure of being able to finally play it. And I'm discovering by fits and starts the kind of game it is, how it fits in with the rest of the game, and all the little neat updates they've done to it, and how it compares with something like the original Dragon Quest VIII. So this game has a couple of new, or at least new to Western players, innovations in it, such as the existence of campsites and the Funtime Forge, which is a substitution for the traditional alchemy mechanic. It's not the first time Dragon Quest has had forging, but it's one of the first times Westerners have had it in the main game. I
always tend to qualify this with the first time Westerners have seen it, because there's this giant, 5-6 year gap in between Dragon Quest IX and Dragon Quest XI, called Dragon Quest X, which we never got a single bit of.
Nope.
So we got kind of skipped over for that interquel. So I don't know how deep the roots go on all the new stuff that we've got, but it's actually been quite a trip to see this little bit of the story.
Nice. So how far are you at right now?
I have received the ship, and I have thoroughly completed everything I can get my hands on up through Zwardsrust, or Zwardsrust, depending on how they want you to pronounce it, including a very cool little side quest they had where you get to actually pray for the dead by actually using prayer spells on them in combat, which I thought was a neat little innovation. So I've gotten up through the part where you first encounter Zwardsrust, and I am about to move on through the rest of the to the rest of the story.
All right.
Part of the reason I'm taking so long, unfortunately, is because I'm also, you may recall, technically I'm running a kind of gaming journal in the den where I record my experiences with a lot of critique and a lot of sarcasm in the Dragon Quest XI section. So I've also been composing that for a while, and Blue has been very dutiful and poked me repeatedly. It's like, hey, is it done yet? Hey, is it done yet? Hey, how much progress have you made? And I was like, yeah, I'm making progress little by little. I added a period to a sentence that didn't have it today. That's my progress.
Really? That's all you got done today? Oh man, I'm disappointed.
See, she's good for that. Okay.
Hey, is it done yet?
No.
So who's been your favorite character or characters yet? Any good moves or?
Oh gosh. Well, we've only got Sylvan. In my party, we've got Eric, Veronica, Serena, and Sylvando. And so far, I don't have a specifically favorite character, though I think certain I tend to prefer certain interactions between them so far. The most appealing thing I've seen is Eric just getting tired of everyone around him for having so much more energy than he does, and for getting, distracted by, the sights and sounds of places like
Gondolia?
Gondolia, thank you. Such that, they totally ignore the fact that there's technically a wanted sign hanging over all of their heads from the Heliodorns. That's technically I'm sorry, that's spoilers. That's bad enough. My bad. Although technically that's like really early game, so I'm not that.
Yeah, I think most of our listeners probably have played this by now, and if not, sorry about the first 10 hours.
Everybody's played it except for Brother Jaybird. But also, they described the game as the tale of a hunted hero, so I don't know that that's really much of a spoiler.
Yeah, I was gonna say you see him getting chased in the just in like the preview videos.
Yeah, okay, so the hero's getting hunted and the only one who cares is Eric. That's my favorite interaction so far.
It's 'cause they're best bros.
Well, if you've seen my Twitter feed, more than best bros according to some people.
I've seen the fan art.
There's always fan art.
I have not seen the fan art, nor will I go looking for the fan art.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
All right. Well, I think, do you have anything else? I know you're early in the game. Anything else you want to expand upon?
Or
I think you'll be able to read all about it in his journal when he finally finishes it.
That's very true. That's very true.
Look forward to that on the Dragon's Den. Soon, later, much later, something like that.
I aim to have the next entry completed before the end of the year. I aim. I don't know whether the arrow will hit the target, but I aim.
And it will be hosted there for an eternal amount of time.
Until the server, until the databases break.
And speaking of the word eternal, that was my horrible segue. Bururian didn't have a number 3 game of the year, and we'll get to your number 2 pretty soon, but I know Aust has had some little technical difficulties on and off today, but he's here. He says he's hearing us clearly right now. So let's go to his number 2 game experience of the year.
Okay, everybody can hear me, right?
We can.
Yes.
Yay!
We got you.
Coming in loud and clear.
So, okay, this is the only other 2020 game that I played in 2020.
Do we need to start the heavy guitars?
Yeah, the Doom, the classic Doom music, or the iconic Doom music. So yeah, this is a Doom game.
Rip and tear.
Yeah. That was I paused there just so you knew that's all I have to say. No.
Yeah, I was going to say is like
it's
you
it's
got
got
that
some
first
extra-
sentence and then you stop.
It's done some things differently, but for the most part, if you played Doom, the Doom that came out in 2016, then you've played this. It's more of the same, but with platforming. Oddly enough, it's a very solid game. Like I enjoyed Doom 2016 a great deal when that came out, and this is more or less just I don't want to say an improvement, because there are some differences that if you're not keen on, then you probably would like the previous game more. But I enjoyed the platforming segments that were added to the game. There's a lot of lore in this one as opposed to any Doom game. Really, Doom has never really been known for its lore, and this is all stuff that you can just like read in the menu as you pick up items in the world. You're not forced to read any of it if you don't want to, but some of it's pretty interesting there if you want to take the time to do that. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. It's Doom. It's an adrenaline junkies game. There were times when I was playing it with my headphones on where like I had to stop because my heart was racing too fast. It was just that it gets you that pumped up.
Oh yeah, I played a lot of Doom 2016 years after the fact. I think I played it early this year or late last year, but these are not games that I generally play, like first-person shooters and stuff like that. So the girlfriend was like in another room and she hears me playing this, and she's just like, "What is that disgusting sound?" Every time I would do like a melee kill on an enemy, she'd be like, "What is that?" And that's all.
Yeah,
that's really all that needs to be
glory
said
kills.
about it. Yeah, that's all that needs to be said. Glory kills. That's what you want.
Yeah, the glory kills were something that were introduced in Doom 2016, and they make a return in this one. And it's honestly kind of a neat little mechanic. It's just you're firing on an enemy, and you get to the point where they start glowing orange, and that means you can go in for an instant glory kill, which gets you a bunch of health points essentially, and ammo, I think.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
This would be a good game to switch over to after I deal with a hour-long story section in one of my Trails of games. Wake me back up at night so I don't fall asleep.
Yeah, it's definitely like a turn your brain off sort of thing, if that's what you want from it. It's exciting. It's action packed. Not the story is not necessary for you to really pay attention to. So,
what consoles is this out on?
It actually
I know
just
it's
came
out
out
on
on
PC, Xbox, Switch on the 8th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it just came out this month.
Is
for
that
the
what
Switch.
you said?
Oh wow.
I think it was
Yeah, I knew
released
they
on
were
the other
gonna
consoles
do a
back in
Switch version.
March or something.
Yeah, it came out on PC, Xbox, PS4 back in March. I knew they were working on a Switch version. I just didn't know when they were going to do it. I can't imagine. I'm not good at playing first-person shooters on console. I need to use a keyboard and mouse. But I know with 2016.
Oh, did we lose him?
Yeah, I got the sudden drop.
And now Wonderwall.
Well, while we're waiting for us to come back, I haven't been playing Doom Eternal, but I have been playing Doom Classic on my Switch. They had it on sale back during Black Friday for like $2, along with some of the other Doom games.
You
like
should play Doom
you could get like
64.
Doom 1, 2, 64, and 3 for I think like a total of $8 if you bought all 4 of them.
That's not bad. You should play them all. They're not bad games. They've aged pretty well. Maybe not Doom 64, but they've aged pretty well.
Yeah, I picked up Doom
maybe
1.
Maybe not Doom 3. Doom 1 and Doom 2 are
3 is
good.
the one I've heard you got to kind of it's got a mixed reception on it.
Yeah, I when that game came out, me and a friend, he had just built his PC, and we stayed up all night playing that game, and it's just some of the mechanics in the game were real dumb. How stuff would spawn behind you constantly. Like you have your flashlight out, you'd be going down corridors, and then things would just turn up behind you. So there was a lot of turning around to kill demons because that's just how it happened.
Yeah, but playing Doom Classic, it's been pretty good. I do like how with the first episode, when you get to the end of that, like you go into this dark room from a transporter and you just immediately get mauled to death. And the game's just like, wait, this shouldn't be how it ends. What the heck's going on? That was pretty funny.
All right. Well, I think Oz is gone for a little bit again. We'll hopefully get him back on to hear his number one game of the year. But let's hear from someone who hasn't had a game choice because they couldn't come up with a number 3. So
it's not that I didn't want to, or not that it's more that I didn't want to than that I didn't do it.
It's not that I didn't want to, but it's because I didn't want to.
It's okay. He knew enough about my number 3 game that it balances out.
There you go.
I was gonna say you've already heard him talk quite a bit tonight, but we'll put him in the spotlight right now. Bururian, go ahead and talk about your number 2 gaming experience.
My number 2 gaming experience is 20XX. Now, if you haven't heard of 20XX, you might recognize it as more or less, is this a Mega Man game? And the answer is yes and no at the same time. So 20XX is a PC game that released in 2014. It was made by this company, like a 2-man team, I believe it was. And the guy who came up with the concept pretty much was like, hey, I want to make a Mega Man game because enough Mega Man games are not being made, but I want people to keep playing it. So I'm going to make it a roguelike. So more or less, it's a platformer. It's a roguelike platformer with permadeath. So it's all a great combination. There's not really a lot of story to this game because that's generally how kind of roguelikes go, except if it's Rogue Legacy. But you've got 2 characters. You've got Nina and you've got Ace, and they are very much, hey, this is X and this is 0. They are the same colors. They look almost exactly the same, but they're not. And you are kind of in a laboratory, I guess. The story isn't really kind of fleshed out that well. You're in a laboratory and you're being tested as robots for the upcoming apocalypse or something. And you've got 2 doctors who are so every time you die, every time you finish a run, non-successfully or unsuccessfully, you'll get a failure note for the run. And on the most recent run that I did, the doctors told me, I know we're supposed to be improving it, but it's so fun watching it stumble around and die. I guess, I mean, have any of you really played a decent roguelike or anything like that? I know a lot of you kind of stick to like RPGs and stuff like that.
I mean,
Yeah, I've played a few roguelikes.
Yeah, I mean, off and on.
I've watched you navigate the explosions in this game when you stream.
Yeah, I've streamed this game a few times on the Discord, so I know that Blue and Jaybird have at least watched me play. I think Yank has popped in one time. So it's very standard fare roguelike. You try to complete a level. It's randomized for every level, except this is more in the vein of a Mega Man game, right? So you're given a boss. Move from point A to the end of the level. You've got different things that can happen along the way. You can have items that you can find on the path to the boss or off on these little sub-paths for the generated areas. They could be augments for your armor. So like in any regular Mega Man X game, you have armor parts. Well, that is a thing in this game. You can get a buster that fires a tri-shot in kind of a cone format out in front of you. You can have it shoot in 4 different directions. You can have a buster augment that automatically charges for you, so every shot you fire is a charged shot. And then you've got same for every other part. A helmet, armor, boots. So depending on how well your run is, you can get great items or you can get awful items. You can run into little stores that will sell you items based on the currency that you pick up from the enemies in the level. And after you beat the boss, there's 8 of them like in a standard Mega Man game. But instead of going back to like a screen where you choose what boss you want to play next, after you beat the boss, you get a choice of, I'm going to take the boss's weapon, or I'm going to pick up a random power-up. And it could be anything that, ups your power, ups your strength, your jump, It could even be an item that gives you like extra dash, a double jump, literally any of the items that you have unlocked. It's just kind of the other option if you don't want the boss power. And then once you get through that, you get a choice of 3 bosses that you can choose from. So if you know the order of bosses, hey, this boss is weak to that, you can pick up the power weapon, go to that boss, and beat him. Now, the way I play is the painful way of I never pick up the boss weapons, and I just kind of play in the order of I know that this boss will be a pain in the butt if I don't beat it now, then later. Because as you progress through the game, the boss's attacks and patterns will completely change. The boss room will get harder, extra stuff will be added in. So if you have a boss that you have trouble with, you want to defeat them sooner than later because they get a whole lot harder. And there's really not much more to say about it than that. It is a co-op game, so you can play this online with a friend or local co-op too, so you can do kind of couch co-op with a friend. You play Nina, the other plays Ace. There's even 2 DLC characters that you can choose from. And there's a plethora of modes that you can do. Like you can play standard mode, which you can choose easy, normal, hard, and based on that. So in normal mode, you die, that's it, you're gone, you're dead, game over. But in like easy mode, you get 3 lives. So if you run out of health, it'll boot you back to the last place you were in, and you can kind of keep going. And then there's like hard mode, defiant mode, which is not a friendly mode at all. And then you've got other stuff like daily challenges, weekly challenges, and even when you're doing those challenges, you can do like hard modes of those challenges. So you can do a regular daily challenge or a defiant mode hard daily or weekly challenge. And they even offer up stuff like boss attack modes. So there's a lot of ways to play this game. You just, find the way that you like to play it and have fun. Sometimes a run will last you 5 minutes, or it could last you 50 minutes based on how well you do. So that's really all there is to say about that.
All right. Anybody else play this one?
No, but I can relate to him saying like runs can either can go really quick or really short, or really they either last a long time or they end real fast. I've had that so many times with the Binding of Isaac where you just die on like the first or second floor because you get nothing. You get no help. But I do remember watching you play this one, Bururian. I think it was back around Thanksgiving time, and it seemed like a pretty fun game. Like I at first thought that it was a Mega Man spin-off or something, but then you explained it during that stream what it was exactly, and you tell us about it tonight. It sounds like something that would be pretty fun to play, especially if you're big into Mega Man and you're not really happy with Capcom kind of beating around the bush about that with that series.
I mean, even if that's the case, it's a fun game to play because it's it's a roguelike. It's one of those, I beat it recently, but then you can go back through it and have a completely different experience. So sometimes if I have a really easy run to where I just kind of clear through it without much effort, I'll do a run to where I will save all of the bosses that I know are going to be super hard until the last ones, because they will be more of a challenge. And generally how I play these platformers is I don't ever use boss weapons, so I always just use standard buster, so it really adds an extra challenge in. But yeah, I don't even think this game is that much. It's like $10 or $15. I think it was even free on the Epic Store recently, so I say give it a shot.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, I bought it off Steam back in 2014 when it came out because I liked everything about it. I waited for it to exit early access, which was not 2014. I think it was like 2016 maybe, because I generally don't try to buy early access games just in case they abandon it. But they came out with version 1, and it's a great game, and they're continually patching it while working on a sequel game, 30XX, which is going to be, I guess, more of the same but different enough to warrant a sequel.
Whoa, 30XX.
Yeah, 30XX. More bang for your buck.
Party like it's $29.99.
Oh, is it?
If we assume 20XX is their Mega Man X game, is 30XX going to be their Mega Man Zero game?
Yes. I'm going to say yes. Is it already on sale?
Oh no, I was joking.
Oh, it's listed
like...
on Steam, but planned release date in the year 30XX probably. All right. I see. Yeah.
Will Steam survive that long?
Looking at it, this definitely looks more like a Mega Man Zero game, actually, from the style it's in. But yeah, If you enjoy Mega Man, you will enjoy this game.
Excellent. All right, let's go back to Brother Jaybird. Now, you talked a little bit about this on our last episode because we were talking Mario. But go ahead and tell us about your number 2 gaming experience of the year.
So my number 2 game experience of the year was actually a very old game with a very new twist. Super Mario 64 Online, which is a project by ROM hackers to add basically multiplayer functionality to the original Super Mario 64, which if you've ever played it or know enough about it, you would recognize as a naturally one-player game. What 64 Online allows you to do is it allows you to take multiple copies of 64 and then sync them all together so that each game's individual character is running around in a shared environment with other characters. And that gets pretty fun and chaotic depending on how many people you can play. Now, I don't recall the absolute maximum limit of people. I want to say in the ballpark of about maybe 24 people could be on a game, or at least 12 I know could be on the game. I don't recall the upper limit, but we played. I played this year with some other members of the Den, a 3-player game that was pretty fun. And we couldn't get a lot more activity on it, but we did get some people watching the streams, which was always pretty nice.
Wow, what am I, chopped liver? I was one of those 3 people.
I said people from the Den. You were included, but if you'd like to share your experience, now that you've outed yourself.
I mean, it was my first experience playing Mario 64, and I guess I can shamelessly plug for people to go listen to the 3D Mario episode to hear more about it. And how you bullied me.
Yes, I did, because I wanted to keep the experience fresh, but I also wanted to direct your activity in certain ways. So I shamelessly misled you. But this is a game with a great deal of potential, depending on who you play with and how you play it. To a certain extent, it's like special items with friends. It's a very distinct kind of experience if you do it one player, but it's a fundamentally transformed experience if you bring a lot of others in. You can do it cooperatively. You can do it competitively. You can do it in all sorts of ways. So I was really excited. I was really excited to have basically a return to this game with effectively new content in a game that I hadn't played since I was, in early high school. Did you drop Plattym?
No, we're still here.
All right. Well, that's the spiel. I can converse about it for a little bit, but most everybody's already heard me talk about it on the Super Mario episode we all just did. So,
if you are interested in hearing more about what Brother Jaybird has just been speaking of, go to your favorite podcast player, which you're probably listening to right now, and go back 1 episode.
Just 1, not 2, not 3.
Just 1.
Just 1.
Yep. And I've even got timestamps in there, so you can hear all of our discussion on Super Mario 64, and he'll be in there talking about the online version and some of the fun that everybody's had with that. Ooh, tis the night for some little audio glitches here and there. Sorry about all you people at home, but you probably won't even hear it because it'll all get not there magically.
It'll all be not there expediently.
Exactly. Immediately. Speaking of immediately, we're going to immediately move back to our last person that needs to talk about their game number 2. So, Bluestar, tell us about your second best gaming experience of the year.
So, my second best gaming experience of the year is actually Fire Emblem 3 Houses. And so it's one that released last year, and it was I was a little slow getting into it, partially because I didn't have a Switch when it released, partially because, just life gets in the way. This is actually one of my first Fire Emblem experiences. I did play Awakening a little bit before actually purchasing this for the Switch in, I think it was May of this year. But it was a lot of fun. I have a lot of hours in Pokemon Conquest, which is a very similar gameplay style. So, moving over to Fire Emblem was pretty easy for me. And Three Houses is a very, very, very pretty game. The world building is absolutely phenomenal. The characters are great, and their interactions feel so incredibly real. It's actually a game that is split into four technically different routes that you can actually play through the story. And depending on which route you pick, you actually get different different lore from the world. So it's really cool how the same game can be such a vastly different experience depending on your playthrough. So I've done 1 3/4 of a playthrough. So I started off with the Golden Deer route, and I played through that with my brother.
Yeah, Golden Deer! That's the first route I did too. I love that route.
And then after that, I started Blue Lions route by myself. So I actually like the Blue Lions route a little bit more, but that's just me.
So how long does it take to play through a route? Or how long did it take you?
Yeah, it's a good, probably, I want to say, it's probably 50 or 60 hours for a route.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty lengthy. I remember... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's a very, very dense game. There's a lot of stuff to do. There are side chapters that you can do in your time off, because you actually play as a professor at a very Hogwarts-like academy, and it's just a really cool setting. But it's very dense, and each playthrough is a little bit different. So there's a ton of time that you can sink into the game, and there's a ton of time that I have yet to sink into the game.
Yangus, how far did you get?
Unfortunately, I'm still not done with my first playthrough, but I played on hard classic when doing the Golden Eagle route, and I just enjoy doing the classic mode because I kind of like having to think a little and trying to strategize a bit.
Oh yeah,
But
that's the way to go. Yeah, permadeath.
Yeah.
Although
if anybody plays on casual, I'm not trying to dog them or whatever by saying that. I just prefer the classic setting because I kind of like that you have to strategize a little bit more. But when I played the game, I got about 45 hours in. I'm still in the middle of that playthrough. Like I said, I just got distracted by other stuff. But I ended up getting about 45 hours, and I had only just gotten to the second part, or like the second half of the game, where there's a bit of a time jump after certain events play out, and I've rejoined up with all of the Golden House students who are now adults, and they've gone off and done their own things, because story events happen. I won't go into any details about it, but basically everybody gets separated after a certain event at the end of part 1 of the game, and you eventually reunite with them, and you're now trying to, like in typical Fire Emblem fashion, go up against the big evil empire that's trying to take over. But I remember having a pretty good time with the game, and this is one of those games where it does have a calendar system to it, but it's like a type of calendar system that I prefer, where you have specific days where you can go out and do stuff, but you have like a number of points you can use for interactions or for events and stuff like that. I personally prefer that kind of setup, which is a 4 calendar system, which is why I enjoy stuff like Trails of Cold Steel a lot. I prefer that a lot more than like the day-by-day thing like you have to do in Persona. But anyway, I remember really liking from my time with Three Houses, because I enjoy, getting to interact with the class members of the Golden Deer House. There's a lot of really good character interaction, and like Blue said, there's a lot of really good world building, which is something that I think Fire Emblem games are usually pretty good about doing anyway, but I feel like Three Houses, they really kind of step their game up. And I think what also kind of helps with that too is that there is a lot of voice acting in the game. I think pretty much every bit of dialogue is fully voiced, which is, a nice addition that they put that in there. But even without that, there's just some like genuinely nice writing for some of the characters. I do like some of the backstories you get to learn about from certain characters. Like one of my favorites from the Blue House, or I'm sorry, not Blue House, from the Golden Deer House was Marianne. I enjoyed her story.
Marianne is too precious for this world, and she deserves everyone's love.
Yeah, I liked how, at first I thought when I met her, like in the beginning of the game, like she was just going to be that timid student that didn't really, wasn't very outgoing, and she just, kind of stuck to herself. But then it was interesting when seeing some of the interactions and the support conversations where when anybody happened to bring up her, I think it's her adopted father or her former family, that she just immediately goes from being very passive to just like, I have no connections to that part of my family. I do not want to talk about that. Like, she just shuts people down so fast. It's kind of funny, but at the same time, it's like, oh, there's more to this character than, meets the eye at first. There is
more to the character if you finish the game.
Hey, I'm not Jaybird. Leave me alone. But even though I haven't unfortunately finished it, like I said, I did really enjoy a lot of the character interactions, the world building. Gameplay is really fun. I really enjoy how they handle character building with the classes and everything, and how you can basically tune a student or a faculty member or any other character you recruit towards a specific route. Like. One of the characters that I enjoy using, and I just love his personality and how over the top he is Lawrence. I ended up making him more of the game kind of starts him off as being a spear user, but he also can use magic. Well, instead of going towards the magic route, like the game sort of recommended a bit, I decided to make him more of a cavalier unit, so he can ride on a horse and travel great distance, and he actually does pretty well in that role too. And I enjoy that the game lets you has that flexibility for character building depending on what you want to do with somebody. Or like if you look at their stats and you're like, okay, well, you seem a little more geared towards physical, but you have what looks like you could also be a really good mage or a good like support unit. So maybe I'll build up your healing abilities a bit too, and then we'll see if we can get something good for you. So if you need in a pinch, you can have them quickly whip out a heal spell or something.
Yeah, also as you get later in the game, you start to unlock more versatile classes. So I believe it is a Dark Knight that is a rider that can use magic. So it does eventually pay off to sort of invest in both of those. Lawrence is a character that makes me roll my eyes, but that's okay.
He reminded me a lot of Prince Charmles from Dragon Quest VIII.
Yes.
And I unironically like Charmles because I like how over the top he is. But unlike Charmles, Lawrence is actually a decent character. And even though he's very full of himself and his status in the Leicester Alliance, he does have some good interactions with people, and you can see that he does genuinely care about people, unlike a certain charmless prince who just will abandon everybody at the drop of a hat.
Damien, please. But no, it's really cool, and it's not just the Golden Deer class that has those kind of great character interactions. It's all of them, and every single character is very developed and very just very real and very relatable, it feels like. So it's a very cool cast, and getting to know all of them it's really a treat. It's also fun in the first part of the game because as you sort of do things as a professor, one of the things that you can do is you can recruit students from other houses to your house. And it's funny because eventually it gets to the point where everybody is in your house and there's like one student in each of the other houses.
That's right. I've seen there was one meme image I saw of something like that where it's one of the other teachers like, okay, class, today we're going to be talking about the history of the history of blah 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 blah. We're doing a joint class today since there's so few of you. It turns around, it's only like oh god, it was the main girl from the Red House.
It was probably Edelgard, Hubert, Dimitri, and Didu.
Yep, that's all it was. It's just the four of them sitting in a class because they're the only four that aren't in your house. Oh, but I had a heck of a time getting some of the students to join my class or the Golden Deer House in my playthrough. Like, it wasn't until I got to the end of part 1 almost that I was able to start recruiting a few characters, and even then it was only like 5 other students. Like 3 from the blue house and then 2 from the red house. Like,
Yeah,
it really, the stat gains must be, or you must have to have particular stat levels to get them to join you.
You do. So for skill levels, whenever you go to a character, they will say that they are interested in a particular stat and a particular skill. The stat levels are usually not that large of a barrier, but for a character that, say, is interested in the axe skill, Byleth is not really an axe user, because Byleth is way overpowered with a sword for absolutely no reason. But so because Byleth absolutely never uses an axe because it doesn't make any sense, their skill level doesn't usually raise itself on its own. You have to actually take the time and effort to go train under other faculty members to get your skills up in order to recruit most of the students.
Yeah. That's what I ended up having to do with a lot of the free days that the game gives you. Like, I had to do that sort of stuff because there were just some characters that I really wanted to recruit, but the game just will not let you do it unless you have a certain criteria met. Like, I tried to keep recruiting Dorothea throughout my whole first part of the game, and it wasn't until like just before the very last battle of part 1 that I was finally able to recruit her, because whatever stats are required for her, it was finally like, oh, hey, look, you met the threshold. Congratulations. Like, oh my God, that took forever. And then meanwhile, you have a character, I forget his name, unfortunately, from the Blue House. He's kind of the aloof swordsman kind of guy. He always is focused on training.
Oh, Felix.
Felix, thank you.
I know all of the names. It's a problem, but it's fine.
Well, I'm glad you remember him. But yeah, Felix, he was a character that I was able to recruit pretty early on because, like you say, Byleth is really good with swords, and the other requirements that he needed to be recruited, they just kind of naturally came to the character. But there's some that you do have to kind of go out of your way for. And at least if you are flexible and you want to try and build Byleth a different way, like we were talking about the character flexibility of the classes and stuff, at least that way, depending on which way you go, you will always have some other recruits that you can try and get from the other houses. So it's not like, on a playthrough, like you're not going to recruit anybody else unless you choose not to. You always have a chance to at least get a few of the other characters.
It is also possible to recruit every single character to your house on your first playthrough. It's difficult, but you can do it with the right guides and information. It gets easier if you beat your first playthrough and then start a new game plus, because then you unlock what they call the journal in game. But essentially, what it allows you to do is it allows you to spend renown points to unlock certain skill levels and support levels for characters. I guess it's mostly just for Byleth. But one of the first things that is really good to do is to upgrade your professor level, because when you're a good professor, by fishing a lot, because that correlates somehow, you get more activity points and more battle points, so you can do more things with the days that you have in the game.
Oh, sure. Do it the easy way with New Game Plus.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what it's there for.
No, I 100% agree. If a game has a New Game Plus, abuse it.
I did my time, man. This game is designed for 6 playthroughs. Sorry, it's actually designed for at least 6 playthroughs, but one of the routes has 2 branching paths at the end. So it can potentially be 8, depending on if you want to play as both male and female Byleth, because they have different support conversations with different characters.
Yeah, I remember. His name is Twinkie on the Den. He had mentioned at one point that when he was playing 3 Houses, that there was the split path that you could do, and I had just started up the game when he mentioned it, and I'm just like, hey, which path is this on? It's just so I have a heads up for it, I didn't want him to tell me spoilers. I just wanted to know, which route that the split was on, just in case it was on the Golden Deer House, since that's the one I went with. And he's like, no, I don't know if I should tell you. I'm like, dude, just let me know. I don't care if it's on one route or another, if I'm on the right one or not. I just at least want to know where it's at. I finally was able to get the information out of him after asking him like 20 times. What's your total playtime so far, Blue? Since you've done a playthrough and 3/4 of one, you said.
Oh goodness, it's probably approaching 100 hours, but there may or may not have been an incident where I overwrited a save file with 40 hours and had to start over.
Ooh.
Oh no!
So that's how I recruited all the students on the first playthrough, first playthrough in heavy air quotes, because I had done the entirety of the first part until then.
Oh man, that's too bad. But at least you're able to make up for it.
I have bad history with accidentally overwriting save files. It's a bad time. My brother hates me for it.
Have you decided? Have you played any other games since then? Since you got into it, or have you thought about checking out some of the other games since you enjoyed Three Houses, or like what you're thinking right now with it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I liked Awakening, what I played of it. I think I got to a point where it was kind of in between story arcs within the game, and that was when I had put it down. So it's something that I could potentially pick up again. I want to say that my brother has Fates, but I don't know 100%. So it's something that I would totally pick up if I had the time to do so, but finding time is... Everybody keeps talking about this backlog, and I'm starting to feel it more and more and more.
Well, I will tell you real quick, while I'm thinking about it, that if you've enjoyed Three Houses, you might actually really like Fire Emblem Echoes for the 3DS. Like, I had played some of the other Fire Emblem games before I played that one, and they were okay, but they just really didn't do it for me. But when I played Fire Emblem Echoes, that game really clicked, and that's what really made me a Fire Emblem fan after that. Like, and just from the way that you've talked about what's the stuff you've liked in Fire Emblem Three Houses, you'll probably like the same sort of stuff that's in Fire Emblem Echoes, because I find that a lot of the stuff that I like in Echoes was also present in Three Houses, and it felt like a good... I mean, there are going to be some differences with the gameplay and stuff like that, but Echoes is a pretty good time, and if you're thinking about checking out more of the series, I'd say try that one out next, if you can.
All right,
assuming your backlog isn't too big.
We'll see. I'll get in. I'll look into it. I've got like 8 games going right now that I really should finish some of them. So.
Okay. Well, there's just another one to think about then, I guess.
All right. Well, you're thinking of what to play next. We will slide on over to a very fun game. At least apparently, I know this one's on my. This will be jumping to the top of my backlog pretty soon. I know I got some Amazon money today, and I keep thinking, I'm like, man, if I put this gift card on my Amazon account, my wife will spend it within a week or two. Not even a problem. So I was like, maybe I should just buy this now, even though I won't get to it for a few months. But Bururian, tell us about your interesting game, and it is a 2020 release that
2020,
you've
baby.
enjoyed this year. Yeah, about time.
Yay!
All right, so I know some of you may like Dragon Quest.
What? That game again?
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it, no.
So my 2020 game is the newest.
Isn't
entry.
Dragon Quest the one with all the grinding in it? You know, the one everyone always complains is too much grinding.
Yeah, I mean, I
Some
put
kind of
120
RPG.
hours into Dragon Quest 11, so
I'm sorry, I just had to get that comment in real quick.
So this game is the newest release in the long-running series Yakuza. It is known in the West as Yakuza Like a Dragon, even though for some reason they called it Yakuza 7 in Japan. It's kind of a brand new kind of take on the previous series, because from Yakuza 0 through Yakuza 6, the main protagonist is Kazuma Kiryu, a former Yakuza who served time and kind of worked through his own personal story and discovery of him as a person. And he got his ending in Yakuza 6. So in Yakuza 7, it kind of takes place in the same world, in the same area sort of, as the other games going on currently, and I'll get to that in a bit. But first and foremost, it's a Yakuza game, but it's an RPG, to where all of the previous games have been more of action adventure. So you get into a battle, you're fighting the guys in real time, and each all those games had their own mechanics, but we're going to focus on this, where it is a turn-based RPG. And I believe it was the director of the game said, I want to make a Dragon Quest game, but we're going to make it a Yakuza game. So the main character, Ichiban Kasuga, is a hardcore Dragon Quest fan, and he lets you know it throughout the entire game. I am currently 14 of the 15 chapters through the game. In fact, I got to the last chapter right before having to pause it to come up here to do the podcast. I'm like 75 hours into the game, and I am having an absolute blast with this game. Normally in, most RPGs, it's always, hey, this person is the chosen one, and they happen to be like, 17-year-old kid or, a whole cast of really, really young people. I am not a really, really young person. I am in my mid-30s, so the cast of characters here kind of hit closer to home because they're all about my age or older. I mean, we've got in the Yakuza game, we've got Ichiban Kasuga. He is like 42, and he is the main protagonist. You've got the hobo Nanba.
Woo, 42-year-olds, yeah.
Yeah, right. And it's just like, it's really unheard of in RPGs to have characters over like 25 to 30. Like sometimes you'll get that one character that's like the old and wise character of like all of your entire cast, whereas in Yakuza Like a Dragon, everybody's old.
Yeah, and especially JRPGs like this, you never see that.
You never ever see it. So it's nice to see this trope kind of turned on its head, because as the story goes, at the beginning of the game, it is 1999, and it is about to be the new year, and you are introduced to Ichiban Kasuga, the main character. Ichiban is Japanese, by the way, for number one, and that joke is made several times throughout the game, because everybody goes, Ichiban? What kind of name is that? And he's just like, yeah, I know. But within the first hour or two of the game, so it's not too spoilery since this game is literally only like 5 weeks old. It's only been up since the 10th of last month. I've been playing it every day I bought it about yesterday, a month ago. So I've been playing it for about a month, almost a month. And he gets put into prison basically on the new year. So I think it's 2001 actually. So 2000 to 2001. Anyways, he gets out of jail 19 years later, and it is 2019 in the game world, and that's where it kind of starts to open up. You go to jail for your family patriarch, who asks you to confess to a murder that one of his other officers did, and you as a loyal member of the Yakuza family goes, yes, I'll do that, anything for the family. He does it, he gets out, and he has been absolutely betrayed. So thus begins his journey for redemption on, hey, why I was super loyal to you, why did you betray me? And along the way, you come across your main cast of characters. You've got Adachi, the former police chief who has been busted down to a driving instructor because he tried to implicate the police commissioner in a corruption scandal, and the police commissioner basically slapped him down. So he wants his revenge. You have Nanba, who at the beginning of the game you don't know his motives, and I kind of don't want to say them because the game is new enough that you should go and play and find out. But he joins you in the party. He's basically your party medic as well, like right out the bat, because he was a former nurse who is a hobo living in Ijincho, the city that most of the game takes place in. And you have your final main cast member, Saeko, who is a club hostess at one of the major NPCs that you come across later in the game, who joins your party for story reasons that you should play to find out. These are all fantastically written characters. I know a lot of people enjoy playing games in Japanese if they are given. The studio that did this, Ryu Gotoku, something like that. They do fantastic dramas. Like if you've played any of the previous Yakuza games, they are like serious crime dramas, and they are very well written with very good characters. So I guess I don't want to go too much more in on the story outside of like the first couple of chapters of the game. But eventually, you all group up, and you work your way through the rest of the game. There's this really interesting feature that they included into the game, which I don't really see a lot of RPGs do. They kind of have, they might have a side quest or two dedicated to it, but each character they have a bond system for the characters, and with the bond system, as you complete battles, you earn bond points, and once a bond point fills the bar for the character, you go to the home base and you talk to that character, and you get a story cutscene to where you talk back and forth, and you kind of get closer and closer with each of the characters as they each have their own little story arc. And as you do this, it does this great little thing of, hey, when they're not in the active party, they gain more experience, which is always nice to have, because later on in the game you'll get more characters. And, when characters are swapped out of the party, some games, everybody gets the same amount of experience. Other games, the characters not in the active party get 0 experience. In this game, if their bond level is at 0 and they are not in the game, they get a reduced amount of experience. But another great thing about this game is it has a lot of great tongue-in-cheek humor. It's got a lot of funny sub-stories. There's usually about 40 or 50 different little sub-stories that you can do in the game that are completely independent of the main story. And with these, you can engage in them or you can completely skip over them. They're completely optional, but they gain you extra stuff throughout the game. Like, you do this one, you get a good item, or you do this one and you get some money. So this game has a summoning system, and they do it in the form of something called the Pound Mates. And this is done through one of the sub-stories of Adachi picks up a flyer on the road, and he sees Pound Mates, and he thinks, oh, this is like a hostess club thing. They're going to come and give me a good time. So he gives it a call. Yeah, he gives it a call, and this guy named Gary Buster Holmes shows up. And he is like this baritone voice man who is just like, oh, yeah, you here for the Pound Mates? And they introduce the summoning system through that. So as you progress through the game, you'll earn these Pound Mates, and you'll also earn them through different sub-stories. But they operate a little bit differently, because usually, with summon in a JRPG, you use MP to do a summon. Now in this, it's like you summon them with your cell phone because you're calling them via your cell phone, but they cost money. So you actually have to have currency to summon them. And when you summon them, they all can have different costs. One could be like 1,000 gold or 1,000 yen. Another one could be like 10,000. One could be 50. They go as high as 1 million to summon. But they also have a cooldown after you use them. So once you use them, they have like a 3 to 5 battle cooldown. So you'll have to fight, X amount of random battles to be able to use them again. But I guess the real talking point of this game is all of the different Dragon Quest parallels that this game has. So first and foremost, the game has a job system, which I think is one of the features of the game that they advertise on the back of the box. And every character can be a certain amount, or different amount of classes. Unfortunately, with this game, there are gender-locked jobs. So, like, the female characters have jobs that only they can be, and then the male characters have jobs that only they can be, which is kind of a bummer, because I would love to see Ichiban run around as an idol, or have Adachi run around as like a matriarch. But you do all of this through a I guess what would be the parallel here? That you go to like a job center there, and you talk to one of the NPCs to
like
change
an unemployment place.
Yeah, like an unemployment place. You go there and you go, hey, I want to change my job, and you can change your job at any time. And thankfully for this, unlike in a couple of the Dragon Quest games, when you change your job, it doesn't revert it back to 0, because while you have your levels for each character, each job has a rank, and the ranks go from 1 to 99. But there are, of course, qualifications to getting specific jobs. Like, you have to be level 25, or this character has to have a bond of level 3 with Ichiban to be able to access it. But once you gain the ability to be a class, you can freely swap between them. Doesn't cost anything, and as soon as you switch back, the ranks stay the same. So you never really lose anything. And the added bonus to it is some of the abilities that you learn from some classes will stick with you even if you change to another job class. And some of
Dragon Quest 3DS style. Some of them do, some of them don't.
Yeah, some of them do, some of them don't. I have one of them with Namba, the nurse. I made him a chef for a little while, and he picked up this ability called Peppermill Blast, to where he pulls out a giant peppermill, whacks the guy across the head, and when he falls to the ground, he grinds pepper over him to do extra damage. And that was from the chef class, and I've made him a fortune teller at this point. And for whatever reason, that was one of the abilities that he retained, was that peppermill attack. So it's a good physical attack, because he is Namba's like one of the physically weakest characters out of all of the ones that you get. So
Nice.
But the classes. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, one of the funniest things that I keep hearing is why the combat is turn-based in this game. Like, there's an in-game reason for it.
Yes, and the in-game reason, which is told through a in-game cutscene, because it's weird. Sometimes they'll have, like, beautifully animated cinematics, and then other times it'll just use the in-game engine to do a small cutscene. It really does that, like, 90% of the time. But yeah, you Adachi Namba are walking along, and Ichiban is such a hardcore Dragon Quest fan that he doesn't see like combat as a regular fist fight of kind of a real time thing. He sees it as turn based, and everybody else just kind of plays along. They're just like, "All right, Kasuga, whatever you say," you know. Because one of the first battles you get when you finally have a party is like a couple of like businessmen, and all of a sudden like they transform into like these big like bulbousy like bodyguard looking guys, and Ichiban's like, "Hey, did you guys see that? They just changed." And they're like, yeah, sure thing, buddy." He's just like in video game mode all of the time. So that is the reason, more or less, why everything is in turn-based mode.
Nice. I heard a lot of the a lot of the enemies that you fight are puns.
Yes, 100%.
Nice.
I've got most of the bestiary complete at this point. I think I'm only missing like 10 or 15 enemies, but I would love to know what some of these enemies are called in Japanese, because one that I just came across is a very ugly looking clown that is juggling, and his name is just Juggalo. Like juggle-o. And I'm like, all right, I would like to know what this is, what pun they gave this in Japan, because I clearly get that here. But I mean, even the way that they introduce the bestiary in this game is a Pokemon ripoff. You run into a professor on the street, and he goes, "Hey, I need help with cataloging the weirdos that roam the streets here." And he takes you to his office, and he explains what he wants you to do. He's like, "I call them Sujimon, and I need you to log them all." And he makes you go through the whole thing where, hey, choose one of these guys. And three shady-looking guys walk out. One is in a red suit, one is in a blue suit, one is in a green suit. And then you have to fight them. And, you know, they get logged into your Sujidex. And he goes, "Yeah, get out there and log them all," and sends you on your way. And that's how they introduced the bestiary in this game. It was, honestly, I was not expecting that when I was playing it, because I got the game a couple of days after it came out. So I've not seen anything on the game. Everything I know about this game is what I have personally experienced.
That's really cool.
Oh, two more things. Is you like mini medals? They got mini medals in Yakuza Like a Dragon. They're just called Tojo clan crests instead. You find them randomly throughout the street and off of enemies, and you can go and you can trade them in to a guy who collects the Tojo clan crests, and you can get items and weapons and even summons off of him. But the really cool thing about this is, while it is a new Yakuza game, like I said, it's a spin-off from the previous 7 games who are all under one protagonist. This game still operates within that game world. So if you have played any of the previous games, you are going to notice references left and right and left and right. Like some of the sub-stories, some of the story, you will see characters, and you go, "Hey, I know that guy from this game when he did this." And that's what makes it really cool. Like, if you're new, no big deal if you don't notice any of it. But if you are already a pretty big fan, you get treated to an extra layer of stuff that you wouldn't get otherwise. But
Nice. Yeah, for those of you out there, this game is, what is it? Like you said, it's all of a month old. You can get
it's 5 weeks old.
Yeah, the PlayStation 4 version, I think since Black Friday, has been pretty much $35 anywhere.
Yeah, it's $40 at Target right now. I was just there yesterday and I saw it on sale.
Mhm.
I bought it on a whim. I was gonna wait because I honestly was not sure about this game because I was just like, well, I really like the Yakuza games. I don't know about this in RPG form, which I like RPGs and I like Yakuza, and I didn't know how I was going to intersect with me well or not. So I was going to hold off until it got cheaper. And a friend goes, hey, it's pretty good. And I walked into a Walmart and they had the steel case day one edition or whatever, and it was like $15 off. And I was like, you know what? Let's do it. And here I am a month later, 75 hours later, and this has easily been my 2020 game of the year. It has been and the story is so good, and I can't say with a lot of RPGs, I love all of the characters. They are all very well done. There's not one character where I just go, screw this guy, I don't like him. I like the entire cast.
Nice.
Bururian can't say no to a steelbook unless it says Persona on it.
This is true.
Speaking of that, Persona 5 Royal
Him and I
Steelbooks
have
were
that in common. That's
very
for sure.
cheap.
You can't make me play Persona. I played Persona 2, and that's where my Persona starts and stops.
Now, that's very different than Persona 3 through 5.
Have you played Persona 3 yet, Platy? I don't think so.
I have not, but I have heard definitely 1 and 2 are much different games.
All right, we got to stop talking about this. We got to stop talking about these games. I'm starting to
Be that as it may, let me sell you on Yakuza a little bit more.
Okay.
So, if you buy the Day 1 edition, or I think it even comes
on, right?
Huh? Daiichi. Daiichi. It's just called the Daiichi edition because Ichi is 1.
There's 1, yeah.
I did a side quest where I found a bunch of lost cats throughout the city, and at the end of that, I earned a summon for Robson the cat, and I go, this is probably going to be dumb. So I used him in a battle. Every time you get a new pound mate, the first summon is free. So it's like, all right, let's see what this guy's about. So I used him in a random, nothing battle that I was going to have no issues with. Out comes Robson, and he transforms into a giant tiger and does several thousands worth of damage to the enemies. And I'm like, all right, okay, I'm sold. The name of his attack? The Super Kitty Punch. Yakuza humor is some of the best humor. It really is. I would just say you have to go and experience a lot of it for yourself. Oh, they even have Puff Puff in this game. Although
I heard about this.
Although they call it Honk Honk.
Yes, I was going to say, I thought I saw an image where something called Honk Honk was from. I didn't know it was from that game, though.
It's the Honk Honk girls, and there's one Honk Honk guy.
Of course there is. You just need Honk Honk Dad.
At least
Out in the desert town.
3.
At least it goes both ways, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, you just kind of search them out throughout the game world, and you pay them money, and they up. So you've got kind of a character wheel of different stats that only Ichiban has, and it's stuff like passion, confidence, charisma, kindness, intelligence. And you do stuff, complete mini games, complete sub stories, do storyline quest stuff, and you get points that will increase these. And the Honk Honk girls and guy, when you find them, because they randomly spawn in set places, so they might be there, they might not, and you pay them money, and they'll just up your stats. And you can only do it like one at a time, so you have to cycle them to spawn again, so you can get them to up your stats some more.
Nice. Oh, I heard the Daiichi edition also got you a full knight suit of armor.
Yes, that is one of the 8 costumes that Ichiban gets, because everybody else gets a couple, Adachi and Nanba, all the male characters get a Majima suit that you could wear. So you got the eye patch, you got that. Saeko gets a costume from a Yakuza character from another game. But yeah, you get a suit of armor, and One of the classes that Ichiban has is the hero class. So I use that, and I'm the hero class because I'm the hero. And he uses a bat
Of course.
because that's his
Nice.
sword.
He's like Earthbound.
Yeah, and you can upgrade. There's a whole upgrade system to the game, so you get materials and upgrade your weapons and stuff like that. So there's a whole lot to this game, and there's a lot to do. And you could skip all of it if you wanted to, but I would say that you're worse for the wear for skipping a lot of the side content, because it really brings out the full breadth of the game to me. Because the main story is this hard crime drama, and then you go and you do one of the side stories of, oh, I have to get milk for this man baby who likes to act like a giant baby, or I have to help this former Korean movie star reboot his career. It's just great stuff like that. Everything's been great about this game. I really don't have a bad thing to... Well, no, I have one bad thing to say about this game, and that's since Ichi treats the battles like turn-based battles, your enemies are constantly moving around the field. Like, no one is just kind of standing there waiting for you to hit them. The bad guys are always moving. You're also always moving. You're kind of like pacing around. So when you have attacks that hit multiple enemies, sometimes I'll find myself waiting to actually do the attack for enemies to line up so I can hit more than like one of them at a time. But that's about the one bad thing I have to say about the game.
Everything's got to have a little
Yeah.
little room for improvement.
Yeah. This is definitely their first time doing an RPG like this, and I hope they continue. I hope we get more of Ichiban Kasuga, because he's been a great character. And I mean, I haven't even beaten the game yet. After we get done with this podcast, I'm going to walk back downstairs, boot the game back up, and do the last chapter and watch the ending. Because I've been kind of thinking in the back of my mind, like right now, I've been trying to figure out like, what is the end game? What's the big bad evil guy trying to do, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
All right, sounds good.
I don't know how much more I can. I could probably go on about it a little bit longer, but I think I've been going on for like 15 minutes now.
Well, we'll say you
That's all
definitely
right.
make me want to check out the game. It was one that I was kind of interested in when it was first revealed. It was going to be like a turn-based RPG and stuff, and kind of a different take on the Yakuza games, but having never played them, I wasn't really sure if it would be something up my alley. But hearing you describe it, it sounds like I would enjoy this game, but I'd also enjoy the other Yakuza games because they just seem so over the top. And I kind of like over the top weird humor.
And like I say, that all of the over the top weird humor only comes from the side content, because if you stick to the main story, you're going to get a nice hard crime drama. And they're always well written. I've played a couple of the Yakuza games, not all of them. I've got them all. It's kind of a thing of, I got this game and I started playing it because it was, like I said, it was suggested to me. I originally, like when it was first announced, I was just kind of like, oh, cool, a new one. And then like I think I had 2 or 3 friends go, hey, did you hear? The main character's favorite thing is Dragon Quest. And I was just like, oh, okay. And then I read about, the director wanted to make a Dragon Quest game, so he made this. This is what his take on a Dragon Quest game is. So it's real good stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, I've heard
I've been
good things. So
yeah, I've been following this one for over a year because Yakuza is something that a lot of the editors at RP Gamer love, and there was even a couple of them that downloaded the Japanese demo. So like back in January of 2020 or maybe February, that I was hearing their impressions of the Japanese demo on their PS4s that they were playing, and the summons and everything. So, I mean, they couldn't understand anything, but they were like, "We're just having fun. We're going around summoning crayfish and whatever."
Oh,
so
and a really neat thing that they did with this game, like most of the previous Yakuza games are Japanese only with subtitles. So it's like if you like English audio, you may have a little issue with those. In this game, what they did was it's got dual audio. So you can play it in Japanese and it's got an English translation. But the neat little kind of caveat here is you want the English. So they localized the English side of it. So if you play the Japanese audio with the English subtitles, it's more of a direct translation. So it's going to be like a touch different than the English audio with the English subtitles. So they completely reworked. So it's almost like 1.5 scripts, whereas everything is mostly the same, but the English side gets a lot more localization to not make it as, I guess, strange to new players. But if you're into the whole, I want a direct Japanese translation, the Japanese audio with the English subtitles is absolutely the way to go.
Nice. All right, from a really serious with silly parts game to something that sounds like it might be all silly. Brother Jaybird, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
What's your number one game?
So my number one game for the 2020 year, for the year 2020, is in fact again not a 2020 release. I have lots of old games to catch up on. But the one I'm talking about today is Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, which is Mario's first foray into turn-based strategy, of all things. Not a genre the admittedly quite prolific Mario series has touched before, and not just a new genre for Mario, but a crossover genre for Mario. Because this one, as the title indicates, features the infamous Rabbids of Ubisoft fame. And now, for those of you who don't know, the Rabbids were originally enemy characters from the Rayman game series, who took on a bit of a life of their own from popularity and are known for wacky, crude humor. Which they, while not the full expression of something in their home series for this Nintendo crossover, they do have quite a lot of, if you pay close attention. So the premise of this game is literally interdimensional, in which some girl who's featured in the intro but not actually named is inventing a new bit of technology that combines things, and this technology falls into the hands of the Rabbids, who arrive in her room in their time-traveling washing machine. No, you heard me. So the Rabbids get a hold of this, and this fusion technology fuses itself, go figure, to one of the Rabbids. And the Rabbids and in the chaos that the Rabbids bring with them wherever they go, the time-traveling washing machine activates again and through, I believe, confluence with the fusion technology, drags them into the world of Super Mario. So, Mario and company are just having a good old time, and all of a sudden, nightmares start falling from the sky, and this fusion rabbit, whose name escapes me, not Beepo. This fusion rabbit's technology has been firing off in all directions and combining things that were never meant to be combined, and creates this mixed up world to go in. And so the basic premise of the game is Mario and company have to set right what once went wrong, but they're also doing it with Rabbids, who have been combined due to the fusion misfire with artifacts of the Mario characters themselves. So it's not just Mario and Luigi and Peach, it's Mario and Rabbid Peach and Rabbid Luigi and a handful of other Rabbid characters, all running around together and trying to get to the source of the problem and undo the damage that's been done. And they do this actually through another first for the Mario franchise, through the rapid deployment of laser gun technology. So this game works by having you, like if you've played Fire Emblem, works by having you field characters, plan their movements, and plan their attacks back and forth between Mario and the heroic Rabbids and the enemy Rabbids, who have been fused with alternate artifacts and become villains. And so you get to move your characters around, you get to choose how to place them around obstacles and how to interact and take on enemies, either through direct fire, through ray guns, through the lobbing of explosives, through setting field mines that travel to enemies and attack them. And you learn to progress through a number of, well, basically each encounter is its own challenge, because you have to place on a scoreboard at the end of each challenge, and it rates you on how well you did, and that accords you experience and coin, so that you can progress, so that you can become stronger and you can gain newer upgrades as you continue to play.
Nice. Anybody else play this one?
I have
watched
not
some
played it,
friends.
but I did get it for my birthday this year, so I'm waiting to start that up at some point.
Backlog 2021, baby.
I mean, not playing 2020 games is kind of a theme of this episode.
So I've not personally played it, but I watched a friend play through like 90% of that game. Strategy games usually aren't my forte, so I didn't mind as much just watching somebody else do it. And it was a lot of fun from what I saw of it.
It is. It's a very charming game. It's got some of the crude humor that the Rabbids bring with them, but 9 times out of 10, it's very light. There are a couple of huge gags that you won't get the better of until you actually experience them firsthand. But I'm not going to spoil it for you, but there are a couple of especially big crude gags that you have to participate in before you get to turn around and say, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought the first time. Oh, good. And if anybody's already played, it happens in the desert level. So if you've played in the desert level, you know what I'm talking about, and if you haven't played it, you haven't played it, and you should play it.
Honestly, I'm kind of terrified from your description, but that might just be because it's late.
Another good thing about this game is the soundtrack. They brought back Grant Kirkhope of Banjo-Kazooie fame.
Ooh, nice.
To do the soundtrack for this game, and so you get a lot of Kirkhopian takes on classic Mario songs, couple of classic Donkey Kong songs, good suite of it. The soundtrack is one of the best parts of this game.
Yeah, I was really happy to hear that Grant Kirkhope was going to be the composer. Like, back when they first revealed the game and they said he was going to be a part of it, like, the kid in me, from having grown up with Banjo and Kazooie and a lot of the other Rare games, was like, oh, that's so cool.
I did not realize that it was him that did that.
You can buy the soundtrack, too, off of iTunes, which is crazy, because normally you can't buy, like, a Mario soundtrack of any kind unless you can get a physical from Japan.
It's not a Mario game. It's an Ubisoft game featuring Mario.
Better yet,
I mean, he's still in the title, so that's why I make that comment, so...
Better yet, you can get the soundtrack on vinyl. That's how hard they're going with the soundtrack.
Wow.
Yeah, that's cool.
You
But, I thought
it
it was interesting hearing about this game, and every time I hear people describe it, they always compare it to XCOM, and watching gameplay between the two, I've only played a little bit of XCOM, but I can definitely see where people get that comparison. They basically call it XCOM with Mario, and, with how the gameplay plays out and how you move around the battlefield and look for cover and stuff, you definitely get that impression from it. And it's cool that they did that sort of take with it, I thought, with the guns and stuff.
Well, you were mentioning
the laser
earlier.
guns, excuse me, the laser guns.
I'm going to just interrupt Yangus here. He keeps talking. But... No, you mentioned earlier that this is definitely an Ubisoft game. You can tell by the pricing structure. Have you seen the sales? Have you seen the sales this game has gone down to on the Switch?
That's a fair point.
I have not, because I don't have a Switch. So
it's gone down to like $15-$20 at some points.
That is unheard of for something with Mario in it.
I know.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And
you never see Mario stuff for 50% off. Yet this one has been multiple times more than 50% off.
I think the cheapest I've ever gotten a straight up Mario game is when they used to do those 30% off coupons for the 3DS through the My Nintendo Rewards, because that's how I got 3D Land for the 3DS is 30% off, but. Yeah, that is crazy.
Mario Odyssey is like 30% off right now for the Christmas sale they got going, and it's like shouldn't you guys knock that down just a little bit more? But then it's like, oh, it's Nintendo, so that's why. But
Got to pay the Switch tax.
Yep. But they've done that for years though, so this isn't like a new them actually having decent sales though. That's a new thing. But they usually don't knock their prices down on stuff unless it does really bad, like Codename Steam on the 3DS, which you could buy new copies of that for like $5-10. It's crazy.
At one time, GameStop was only giving 2 cents on trade-in value for that game.
That poor.
Not even joking, because I went to trade in my copy. And the guy goes, "Do you want to trade this in?" And he turns the monitor to me, and it said 2 cents. I was like, "Oh, I'll keep that."
Well, this was where GameStop.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's because it's GameStop. I mean, you're not going to get any real value from it.
I totally get it, because they were going to put it back on the shelf for like $10, so they made 98%. They would have made 98% profit on that.
Yep.
Yeah, GameStop is not known for its honest business dealings in terms of games.
And that's why so many are closing.
But I really would recommend this game because it's phenomenal. It also has some very excellent DLC, a dedicated Donkey Kong story, essentially, which with multiple chapters and a lot of gameplay of its own, which was actually very cool because in the straight game, you do a mix. The gameplay is balanced around moving and hitting targets, whereas I would say the Donkey Kong DLC takes a lot of the same mechanics and reworks them just a little bit to focus mostly on placing and moving your characters around the field. So, for example, the DLC focuses on Donkey Kong and not Cranky Kong, but Cranky Rabbid, which is every bit as ridiculous as it sounds. But rather than focus on a lot of sliding and jumping mechanics as in the straight game, whereas you can, if you run through an enemy, you can slide and do a little Mega Man style kick slide through them for damage, or if you land on another, or if you move to where another character on your side is standing, you can use them as a springboard to propel yourself through the air and gain more distance. The Donkey Kong DLC focuses on allowing Donkey Kong to cover lots of ground and throw other characters, which was always his specialty. So instead of having to maneuver through pipes to gain to go up to higher levels or down to lower ones, he could just climb up directly. He can swing from specialized vines to maneuver great distances. He can carry and throw characters, which includes enemies, includes obstacles, and includes Cranky Kong, who has special moves based on being thrown. So a lot of it in the DLC focuses more tightly on placement than on variety of options. So it's a very distinct experience built around the same engine, and is very worthwhile in its own right because, again, Grant Kirkhope gets to focus on more Donkey Kong songs, and a lot of the gameplay outside the combat is a big old Valentine to classic Donkey Kong Country. Well worth the investment for any old Donkey Kong Country fans.
Alrighty.
Nice.
We are getting late here tonight, and I know Bluestar needs to get to bed at some point. Maybe some of the other, maybe some of the others of us do too. No, you definitely do. We maybe need to.
The night is still young.
I was gonna say I've got 17 days of vacation starting today, so boom.
Oh,
I'm
you
good.
are so lucky. If
I've
only
more or less
I
got the
didn't-
next 2 weeks.
Yep. So let's get to Bluestar's number one game. We have lost poor AustNerevar. He's having internet issues, so we will not be able to hear on this episode his number one game of the year, which was Stellaris. A game I was very interested to hear him talk about. We'll see if we can't hear from him on our next episode maybe, or patch him in at some point. But let's finish up tonight with Bluestar's number one game, and a game that kind of has really brought us all together, even though I don't play it anymore, but it's kind of the reason for the official Den Discord, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess I do want to say that there hasn't been a whole lot of mocking our game taste so far tonight, so I am a little concerned that you've been saving it for this last one.
I mean, I could say a lot, but I won't. These are your favorite games. These are your opinions. I am not here to tell anybody differently.
Let me tell you why you're wrong.
But
Thank you.
I can tell
That's
you,
my
at
job.
least this game, you can get a lot of content for very little money.
You can! So, the game is Dragon Quest of the Stars. It's probably the only game that I've played this year that actually released in 2020.
Boo.
I'm sorry.
Boo.
I'm sorry, okay? So I guess it's a gacha game. It's a little bit of an unconventional gacha game from what I've seen. It's the only gacha game I've ever played, so it's all I know. The draw of it
It's the only one I've played that hates me.
The draw for it for me was that it looks a lot like Dragon Quest IX multiplayer, where everybody has their own character, they have their own classes that they can level up, and with the equipment and the costumes, you can really customize your own character and go and take on bosses varying from really easy green dragons to the Dragon Lord and Mortimer, and I think most recently we fought, I guess it's not that exciting, but we fought the Malign Vine from Dragon Quest VII. I named the game. I definitely did.
Woo! Number 7.
But it's not a game without its flaws. It is a mobile game, and so there's enough there that Platy and Yangus aren't on the cool kids train anymore. But
Platy and Yangus who've fallen off the cool kids train. It's not people who stayed on the cool kids train.
I'm a cool kid.
I'm tied to the top of the caboose of this train flying down the tracks. That's where I'm at.
Well, we're
think
going
I'm
off
far
the
enough
rails
from-
on a crazy train.
We haven't let him leave.
I was gonna say, I think
leave. We're dragging him along for friend points.
the adjectives cool and kid don't describe me at all, so maybe that's why I haven't I gave this game a good week.
The monsters all look very festive and adorable right now for Christmas, so
I have seen them. They look great.
it's a good time. Honestly, I don't even know how many hours I have put in this game over the course of the year. It's something that, for a lot of things you can start it up and just sort of let it run on your desk while you're working on something else. That's definitely how I've done a lot of the story. The story is it's a mixed bag. There's a ton of padding in it, but there are some cool twists in it that you don't really see coming. But all in all, it would probably be about the length of one Dragon Quest game chapter if you cut out all the padding.
Yeah, each chapter is like 90% padding too.
Yeah, I remember where I stopped I think it was one of the first continents you were able to go to. There was a point where you were looking for a thief. I think it was either supposed to be Canada or Robin Hood, as they always call him. Now, I think you're supposed to be looking for him. I went to the first location. It told me, it's like, oh, he's not here at all. He must have went up to the other location. Go to the other location. Well, he's not here at all. But look, there's a map. We can follow this map and figure out where he is. It's like, oh my God, can we just move on with the stupid story, please?
Yeah, unfortunately, that part doesn't really go away. But there's some gems in there too. But what's really cool about the game is the multiplayer and playing with your friends, and it is what actually started the unofficial Dragon's Den Discord, which I don't know about everybody else, but I'm very thankful for it, and it's brought me here to what is this, my 4th Slime Time episode now?
Get to 5 and you'll get a special prize.
No more invites to come back.
Don't be like
prize.
Bururian and don't
That's your
skip
prize. I
out.
was gonna say, have we ever had anybody on 6? Who knows?
What was that, Yangus?
I said, don't be like Bururian and choose not to be on 5 times in a row.
Well, you see,
missed out on me doing a perfectly good joke, and you didn't show up for that 5th time.
I could show up for the 5th episode, but if you're just talking best games of 2020 again, I feel like that would be kind of redundant, and I don't want to steal anybody else's thunder.
I'm going to steal all that thunder and be back next time.
And
he's gonna have like 3 more games he just played within like the span of 2 weeks.
Hell,
I was going to say, I think our next recording time is AustNerevar's birthday, so he probably won't be on there to discuss his number 1 game. So, Bururian, if you want to get some Stellaris time in between now and 2 weeks from now, I mean, you can fill in for him.
Yep. Understudy.
You can be his mouthpiece.
I will not be participating, but I will perfectly be happy to make subversive comments afterwards.
Those are always welcome.
Half the podcast. Blech.
Half the
PodQuest.
PodQuest just sounds. That's going to be the next spinoff of Slime Time. It's going to be Slime Time PodQuest.
It's such an excellent title. Like, why did we miss that? How did we miss that?
Yeah, how does that not come up?
Yeah, Plattym, you've been doing this show for 3 years or so now. What the heck?
3 years. We're not even at 1.5 years yet.
Oh, we're not. I thought you guys have been doing this since 2018.
So yeah, like more
2020
more or
has just seemed that long.
Oh Jesus!
Even if it does go back to 2018, it's not 3 years.
Oh Jesus!
But more or less, yeah, the Discord started up as kind of a offshoot to facilitate Dragon Quest of the Star multiplayers. Like, it was me and Glaceon and one other person, I think, at the time. I forget. I don't even know if they're part of the server anymore. But we started it up. I think it was this guy named Sick Boy, but I don't know if that was his name on the server, on the forums or not. But the original Discord we were doing it on, the person just straight up deleted the Discord. So I kind of just made a second one to just kind of start doing that, and it's grown into this nice little community. And the Dragon Quest of the Stars channel is probably the most active channel.
That doesn't mean there's not great stuff on all of the other channels too.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying is it's still there for what it does.
I was gonna say yes, it was the beginning, but it has prompted quite a bit of other good discussion all around.
Yes, and the best channel came about like a month ago.
The best channel came about a couple days ago, the Geriatrics channel.
Oh yes, let me tell you about my knees.
No. The best channel was Yangus's Root Veggie Roundup. The long-running joke that finally became reality thanks to Blue.
I don't think what Blue realizes is that I talked at length about Dragon Quest of the Stars on the main podcast earlier this year.
Yes.
Whoa.
That was our
that was before
February?
I knew any of you.
Yeah. I think it was like the first week of the game back in February.
Oh, how simple your life was then, Blue.
What's funny about that, Blue, is he was totally like a replacement person for that night. We had a guest scheduled to be on Slime Time, and we were pinging and messaging and just couldn't get a hold of that person that night. And then Liam was like, hey, I think I see Bururian like posting about Dragon Quest of the Stars on Twitter like 5 minutes ago. So we messaged him on Twitter, and like 10 minutes later, we had him on, what is it? Here we record on Skype and did a whole episode. And yeah, 10 minutes earlier, he had no clue that was going to happen. We had no clue that was going to happen.
Yeah, it was a good night.
It was. It really was.
Yeah, with listening to that episode, you wouldn't imagine that it was like done at the last second with you as the guest. You just seemed totally prepared.
Did you also know I was like 4 or 5 beers in?
No.
See?
All kinds of facts.
I mean, other than the opening joke, do we really script any of this show? You wouldn't know any of this was... None of this was planned.
So how's the multiplayer content been going lately, Blue? I have not really been keeping up with it.
Right now, so the big thing that just released was a new story chapter. So there are a lot of people who are focusing on that, but the event that is going on right now is actually, it's kind of funny because with all of the festive monsters, you actually get to fight Santa and just absolutely murder Santa over and over and over again.
As gacha games go.
As happens in every Dragon Quest game.
Gotta get all the drops.
Yes, absolutely. So he's actually a recolor of the Almighty from Dragon
awesome.
Quest
I was
7.
just about to ask.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh! Of course he is. Of course he is.
That's
So
awesome.
So that's really cool. There are a lot of really cute costumes from the event too, as drops and as rewards. There's also a weird kind of mechanic where for doing the event there are holiday points that drop, and you can then spend the holiday points on specific prizes from the from Santa himself. So it's different and cool, and honestly a lot of the Christmas fashion is really fun. It just makes me happy, man.
Right on.
I think when I first started playing my first Dragon Quest gacha game, it was a Dragon Quest Monster Super Light, and I downloaded it very shortly after it came out in Japan, and it was winter, springtime, and they had some of those little icicle slimes and some of the stuff back then. Gosh, like 5-6 years ago. I remember laying in bed under the covers at spring break, freezing my butt off, and just not knowing a single word of Japanese, and playing that game because it was so simple enough that you could do that. But yeah, seeing the pictures y'all have posted, it's pretty fun to see those guys again, and a lot more new ones too.
There's some cringy love interests from Gaius because he gets around, but that's okay, I guess.
What hasn't that man done?
In
both the figurative and literal sense.
I was about to say, what are we?
You can hear the sound of the rating of this podcast upticking by 1.
It is now
And
PG-13.
there goes that goes to the explicit tag right there.
and then you can't watch, but Blue just buries her face in her hands.
Why am I here? This was
I'm
my
still
favorite
here.
game until 2 minutes ago.
This is when we need that clip from, I think it's Metal Gear Solid 5, where it's like, why are we still here? Just to suffer. Just to suffer.
The struggle.
Well, anything extra good? Anything else you want to tell us about this game?
There's
That's the stutter of a gotcha game for you.
yeah, there you go. There's a lot of stuff in it, and it's evolving enough that you could talk about it for ever and ever and ever, but it's late, and I don't know about all of you guys, but it's a little bit past my bedtime, so I may not be quite as coherent as I am normally.
Here, I'll help you out with one. One of the biggest additions that they added recently was unpaywalling the auto to a degree,
I did
Right.
see that.
which was a boon for me. I hated how that was behind a paywall because I set up my desk at work on a computer, and I usually have the game going and have auto turned on with the speed up to 3, and I just clear dungeon so I could see story content. And when I stopped paying for the game, I lost that, and I was just like, what's the point now?
What they've
Now
done
you're back,
instead
baby.
is they've
Now
given
I'm
you,
back
they've given
from outer space.
They've differentiated their auto play, their AI into the classic Dragon Quest categories: show no mercy, focus on healing, don't use MP, all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And what they've done instead is they've given you be aggressive for free, but you can pay for balance, defensive, using skills, or manual control.
Which,
Now-
let me tell you, is probably very useful because the story bosses we're actually nearing the end of the first season of the story, so we're finishing up the first planet Brulia and getting ready to head off to the next planet because it is Dragon Quest of the Stars. It's an interstellar RPG. But
They're finally going off the planet. I can't
They're
believe
going
it.
off the planet. But
We've run out of
Bob-
planets.
the bosses towards the end of the story they're an absolute nightmare. So unfortunately you can't just auto your way through all of the story, which I kind of miss. I'm stuck on a boss right now, and I've got fairly high level characters probably.
Well, That's because you have pride. I mean, you could totally pay for it in gems. You know you could.
Okay, but I spent my gems trying to get more sage staffs so I can have more Kafrizzles.
So yeah, around chapter what is it? 10 is what Jungal is 10. Was that right?
Oh, that doesn't sound right.
Okay. Well, around the time you get to the country they call Jungal, which might be actually I think I'm ahead of myself. I think that's more closer to chapter 8. The difficulty spikes hard. It gets.
I want to say
Mhm.
that's closer to chapter 18.
Well, okay, 10 plus 8, we're close enough.
One of the ones with an 8 in it.
There's only so many of them. Yeah, I'm counting. I think closer to continents than actual chapters because continents in this game are split up into multiple chapters. I forgot. But by the time you get to the Jungal continent, the difficulty spike gets really hard, and you can even see a bit of it at the end of the Frost continent. What's the icy continent on Brulia? Tundrika, yeah.
There's a whole continent in between there that I think you're forgetting about, but that's okay.
That's okay. It wasn't very important. But right around, at least as far as Jungal, the difficulty gets really hard, and that's where the AI no longer cuts the mustard, as it were. So you have to pay close attention to the story bot. Everybody okay on that? On the other end there?
I think
All
so.
good.
It sounded like somebody did some shuffling of intensity.
Shuffling intensifies.
So once you get to Jungal, the game stops letting you do the story bosses with AI because the story bosses get mean. They get free revives on a lot of their supporting units.
So many status ailments, and you don't have enough food slots to protect yourselves against all of them.
They start throwing a bunch of unique DQX only story bosses at you, which include variants on Amon, on Exorcus. We mentioned this a little bit on the Den, I think, a while ago. Woodus shared some new graphics of the new monsters in Platinum. You said you couldn't recognize like half of them, and I said that was the half that was from DQX.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are all the new story bosses that are kicking our butts.
Yeah, I'm running into that sort of problem in a game that I've been playing, but I can't talk about that till we do the next episode. But
No.
yeah, like with the gotcha thing, I definitely think that there's a point where they're just like, all right, we're going to start taking out the kid gloves. Either fork over the money or grind like crazy.
You can play this. You can invest time or money. What's your choice?
Well, it sounds like a good time for anyone who loves Dragon Quest on their phone, anybody who loves the more casual experience or even the harder experience, hearing all your problems you're having with these new story bosses.
That is actually a good point because there are lots of things in the game that accommodate different, levels of play. So there are all of these fiend keys that you can get, and they're essentially really, really hard versions of all of the event bosses. So you'll fight like Fiend Dragon Lord, and he's brutal. But if you're maybe a newer player or someone who's more casual, you don't have to touch those, and you can still get a lot out of the game. So it's very accommodating to different levels of play.
Shout out to Liquid Metal Slime, who has been just slothing his way through that game all year. that man is a machine.
We love LMS.
Yeah, we've got a good handful of dedicated DQOTS players. I want to call it DCOTS. I'm going to call it DCOTS because I'm too lazy for the full spelling.
There's no good way to say that acronym.
Yeah, DQOTS
we got a
sounds kind
bunch
of
of
dirty. DQOTS.
DQOTS then. Okay.
There you go.
Get that Q in there. DQOTS. We got a bunch of good DQuats players in the Discord, so it's not uncommon for a bunch of us to get together and do group raids on challenging bosses for extra loot.
Nice. Yeah. And I know we've said this many times in the past, but you should come join us on the Discord server. We'll have to put the permanent link down in our show title here.
Yeah, we'll put the link in this part of the video right now. So whatever you're listening to this podcast on, just start touching your screen like crazy, and eventually they'll open it up.
That probably will not happen.
Be sure to smash that
probably
bell.
End up pausing or deleting.
Smash that bell. Smash that like button. Hit subscribe.
You'll probably
Ring the bell.
Ring the bell. Smash the bell. Do whatever you want to the bell. Just hit the bell.
We became a bunch of YouTubers in like 30 seconds, and we're no good at it. Okay.
So, I think that about rounds it up. Anybody else have anything to say about their games?
Yes, I'm ready to walk downstairs and beat Yakuza like a dragon.
All right. Well,
I'm
But
itching.
Bururian,
Itching.
it's midnight. It is midnight.
Guess who doesn't have to work tomorrow?
Dang
Me?
it. You're right. I hate you guys.
I'll probably go put 2 hours into Crossbell. So,
I'll be still playing Smash Brothers as Symphonia.
I want to go have dinner.
That's
you
right.
Pacific
It's only
Coast
it's
people.
only 9. It's only 9 for Jaybird.
And he
Yeah,
has
it's only
me
11
dinner.
o'clock for me right
That's
now,
so
so-
sad.
My stomach agrees with everything Blue just said.
All right, well, let's end it here at the bottom of the hour. So that's it for this episode of Slime Time Sidequest. Thanks to AustNerevar, even though you didn't make it to the end with some internet problems tonight. But thanks, Brother Jaybird, Bluestar, and Bururian. At least the bees stuck with us for joining us to talk about their favorite games they played recently.
The
Triple
B
B
Squad,
experience.
baby.
The
Go
B.
B team.
It's a quality triple B game.
Triple B.
Wow, that fits right in. You know, come back in a couple of weeks and you hear the AAA team talk about their favorite games from 2020.
Oh, wait, what?
And you know, there's jokes I could make. I'm not gonna say, but
I was gonna say none of us have an A in our name that we're gonna be talking next time at all. We'll be all over the
Oh
place.
yeah, there are gonna be. I think all of us have A's in our name on the next episode.
Well, A, we don't start with A. We're not. We can't be as cool as the B team.
That's true.
God,
We're gonna be the weird.
EPEY. We could be the Yep team. We
Yep.
could be the Yep team.
Yips.
Team
Join
Yep.
us in 2 weeks for
Yep.
Team Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Yarp.
But yeah, thanks for joining us tonight, guys, and we'll see if we have any other crossover favorites when Plattym and I have 2 more guests, and hopefully we can have Aust back on to finish off his list on the next episode in about 2-3 weeks.
Yep. We'll reveal more then. And also, I'm going to reveal tonight the creation of something everybody's been waiting for, because we're going to start our own Patreon page so that all of you out there can just donate money to us to go spend on.
Plattym. Stick with the script, man. Come on, stick with the script.
Oh yeah. Let me scroll down a bit. Right. Okay, so you might have noticed that the only time we ever mention Patreon on this podcast is when we say we don't use Patreon. We're just longtime fans that want to speak about the topics we know and love so much. If you have any money you would like to donate, consider sliding on over to the Dragon's Den at www.woodus.com/den. Click on support this site. Woodus has owned and maintained the Dragon's Den fan site for over 20 years now. He would appreciate any donation. I know we've had some recently. Or you can use his Amazon affiliate links to make any purchases. There's a lot of good stuff. We got the new Dragon Quest 11S games coming out for Definitive Edition now is on PlayStation 4 and Xbox and all over the place. So he's got affiliate links for that. And pretty much anything new from Amazon, he's got a link to it. So use those, get a small fraction of that sale to go support the Den.
If you have any suggestions for a future SideQuest episode, we'd be happy to hear from you. You can reach out to Plattym via his Twitter, Plattym3, or you can reach out to him on the Discord server for the Dragon's Den or the actual Dragon's Den itself. You can also contact me at YangustheLegendaryBandit on the Dragon's Den Discord server or on the Dragon's Den itself via personal message. We do have a list of games and other topics we'd like to talk about in the future, but if you have any suggestions about anything you want to hear, maybe you want to hear more about one of the games that one of our guests mentioned tonight as one of their favorite games of 2020, we'd be happy to revisit the topic or to add a new topic to the list, whatever you have. We have a big list of ideas, and we're happy to hear from whoever has some new suggestions.
Excellent. Bye, everyone.
Sidequest complete. Or is it? See you in part 2.